Okay, so now we have our background video tracked in Blender and also in After Effects. So we have two options of Blender projects to work with. So if you follow step by step, you could pick any of these ones to work with. You could pick this one, or you could pick this other one here. They are both well tracked. So yeah, whichever one you work with actually doesn't matter. Let me take this one. I don't even know which one it is. Okay, this should be the Blender one. Now the difference here is with Blender, they already arranged your entire scene. In fact, if you go in the compositing tab, you see there are some nodes that have already been added. But in the After Effects track, your scene is just the way you left it. The compositing tab is empty. So I think that would be the difference here. So let's go in the Blender scene. Let's make our ground visible so we can see it now. And I think Blender already added a shadow catcher to our ground. Let's change our render engine from Eevee to Cycles. Let me change this to GPU, go to Object Properties, Visibility, and yeah, this plane already has a shadow catcher on it. You can see it's already checked. Let's go back to camera view. Let's go to render. So we just want to fix the lighting before we do anything else. Let's delete this folder here, just delete. So let's go to our world setting, and now we currently have this light. Let's click on this light and delete it. We don't need this light. Let's go to the color, environment texture, and then find an HDRI image that matches this scene. Let's go to this view so we can see the scene again. See, it's a very sunny day. Let me hide the ground. It's a very sunny day. You can see the shadows. You can see pretty sharp shadows moving in this direction. They are not so long. The shadow is actually quite short. So this is like close to 11 a.m. or like 1 or 2 p.m. So the shadows are not that long. So I'm going to go to polyhaven.com/HDRI and search for noon and find something that works. I want something that is not grass, that is more like a cityscape environment outdoors. Yeah, I think let me search for city instead, or noon city. I think this is actually cool. Modern buildings. I think this might work. Let's see if we find another one with sharp shadows. So you just spend some time looking through this till you find one that works. I think I like this too. Yeah, I like this because the shadows are not long, they are shorter. Thankfully we have the circle to show us, yeah, they're not that long compared to this one, the modern buildings with long shadows. So yeah, let's pick this one. Where is it? Wide streets. Yeah, let's click on it and download the HDR. Then in Blender, let's just click open, find the wide street image and open image. Now when we go to rendered view, we should have our lighting. So let's go to render, then film, then transparent, so we can see, and turn on our ground so we can see our shadow. Cool. I think it's already facing the right direction. Is it? Let's move this cube over here and add a UV sphere and scale it down so we'll see how long the shadow is. Yeah, I think this matches this. Yeah, kind of does. Yeah, I think it's in the right direction, so we don't need to adjust the direction of the light. Okay, now in this video we are trying to create something like a hole in the ground where something comes out of. So whether you're working on a project where you want to put a hole on a building, or a hole on the floor, a hole in a vehicle, this is basically how you create holes in Blender to use for VFX. So let's go to the solid view and make our ground invisible. So we'll start with a cube. So Shift A, cube. Now let's enter edit mode, GZ-1 this time. So what you're trying to do is make sure that the ground is level with the top of the cube. So this is going to be our hole. So depending on how large you want the hole to be, just imagine this section being the hole. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it this way. So the hole will be around here. So all of this down here will be on the ground, and this flat part on top will be the hole. You could scale it up to make it bigger. You could do an S, Shift Z to scale it down without increasing the length of it. So depending on how large you want your hole to be. Now that we have this, let's go into edit mode. First thing we want to do is to go to face select and select this face. There are a lot of ways to do this and you don't need to follow a particular order, but this is usually what I do. First, I duplicate this top layer, so this top face, Shift D. Now when I hit G, I should be able to move this around. Now hit P and selection to separate this. So we have this object and we have the cube. Now let's call this cover. just change the name here to cover. And also let's click on the cube again, go into edit mode, select the top again, and let's separate this. So P, selection. So now we have an extra cover and the hole. Let's rename this cube to hole. And then this top, what would we call this? Let's call this floor. So what we want to do is go into edit mode, select all for just this top, this floor. Then what you want to do is to hit E, then S. So you are going to extrude and scale. So just this big. So you can go into the camera view and see that it has covered the entire space. Cool. Now let's hit X. You can see as we're moving around, there's some weird artifacts happening because there are two layers on top of each other. So let's hit X and faces. So we have deleted the extra layer. So let's come in here, click on this face, delete this face. So now we have a hole. So this is going to be the floor, this is going to be the hole, and this cover is going to be the cover. Let's see how it looks like in this view. Okay, cool. Now let's go to our rendered view. You see that everything is in the scene, but this is not what we want. What we want is for this plane, the floor, to be a shadow catcher. So come here to object, and then under visibility, change this to shadow catcher. So switch it on. Now you can see there is a hole in the scene already. So we need to change the material of this hole. Holes are not usually white, except they could be white. But then usually when you dig a hole in the floor, it usually has like a soil material. So let's first create a new material. Let's make this very dark to see how it looks like. So we already have a hole in the shot. We could still move this around. We can click on everything, the cover, the floor, and the hole, and move it around to place it exactly where we want it. Yeah. You can also do this with any shape, with a cylinder, with different shapes. I'm just using a cube here, for example. And also, if you want to do this on a wall, it's the same exact process. You know, this is a floor. If it was a wall, let's say I add a cube and I bring it over here, and I make this big, and I scale it on the x-axis. So this is a wall, yeah? We could use this to create a hole on the wall. We could do the same exact thing. So if there is supposed to be a hole here, like let's say this side is supposed to be the hole, you just need to do the same thing. Click on this, you could P to separate, and then we already have our hole. So we could do the same exact process, but on a different orientation, a vertical wall, just as an example. So let's come back here, and let's go find a soil or dirt type of texture to use. So go on CG Bouquet/textures, and search for, okay, come down here to, what are we looking for? Ground. Yeah, then we see a lot of textures of the ground. Now, what do you think the inside of the ground would look like? I'm thinking either something like this or something like this. Let's choose this one. Yeah, dirt. Yeah, download it. After it's downloaded, you can extract it to get the files out. And in Blender, let's go to shading tab. Shading, click on the plane, make sure you're selecting just the hole. Yeah, this is what we want to change. You can use slash on your keyboard to select only just that object, to show just that object, so everything else disappears. Now let's click on the principal BSDF, Ctrl Shift T, and go find your dirt image, select everything, and import it. Now you already have the dirt in here. So for this, we could leave the settings the way they are by default, but then we could adjust the scale of all of this. So we could drag this down and scale it up. So it's a lot smaller, you know, the way it was before. The stones are nowhere super large. I want to make it smaller, but not too small. We don't want to get to a point where everything is just repeating. Yeah, like this, you can see the texture is just repeating and it's obvious. So not so small. Could also adjust the rotation. Yeah, let's reduce the scale. I don't like how it's really repeating. Yeah, I think this is cool. So let's hit slash to come back. Now when we go to our layout tab, let's make the cover invisible. Now if we go to the render tab, we'll be able to see our hole with the texture of a hole right there. Let me turn on the noise so I can see things smooth. So yeah, we're already seeing our hole, we're seeing the texture there, but does it look right? Let me see. Let's go to the rendered view. Yeah, it looks right. It actually does look all right. Now we have our hole. We could do whatever we want with the hole. You could add a new object. You could import a model. Let me add a sphere or a monkey. Yeah, let me add a monkey. Let me scale this monkey down. You can see the monkey is in the hole. You could bring it down. You could lift the monkey up out of the hole, and that could be the animation. So this is just something you would probably use a lot when you're thinking of concepts. You want a hole to come out from the, say this building, you want this building to open up and an object or a product to come out of the hole. This is how you approach that. So you can make this monkey just come out of the hole. That could be cool. And you can see the shadows are casted properly. Yeah, you have the shadows on the hole, you have the shadows on the floor, because we made it a shadow catcher. Just remember the labeling and you'll be fine. We can delete our ground now. The ground plane that was added automatically, we can remove it. Just remember this, the cover, which is what is going to be covering the hole, your floor, which is going to catch your shadows, and it's also going to serve as a holdout to cover this hole, because you can see we are seeing it on the ground and we should not be able to see it. And then we have the hole itself. So those are three things that you should think about. Even if I'm not using a cube, if I'm using a sphere, you just have to think about it from that direction. Let's use a sphere, for example. Let's delete this, delete everything we have added, delete the cover, delete the floor, and let's try doing this entire thing with a cylinder, not a sphere. Shift A, mesh, cylinder. Now let's go into edit mode, GZ-1 as we did. So the top of the cylinder would be on the floor, and we can scale it and it will move above the floor. That is why we're doing that. Now let's move this to exactly where we want our hole to be. Just move the X and the Y, don't touch the Z, you would mess things up. Cool. Now we have it nicely tracked to the scene. So to make this cylinder smooth, let's right click and hit shade smooth. But now it looks super weird. Let's go to the modifier properties, add a modifier, generate, add an edge split, and then add a modifier, generate, add a subdivision surface. So it should look quite smooth now. Cool. As I said, there are a lot of ways to do this, but just remember what you're trying to create. You need a cover, you need a hole, and you need a floor. So this time I would click on this, then just separate it, P, separate selection. Now we have two different things, this one here and this one here. Then I can now do a Shift D, enter to duplicate this. Let's call this cover. Let's call the second one floor. So for the floor, go into edit mode, select all, ES to extrude and scale. You could also do the ES thing in your camera view so you can see how large it is, ES. So yeah, just to make sure it covers everywhere in the scene. You don't want your floor to be popping out. Good. Now X to delete the extra face. Cool. And then we can delete this middle face now. X, delete faces. Now let's make our cover invisible so we can see our hole. Now we already have our hole. So for this one, set the floor to a shadow catcher, and then for the hole, I think our material should still exist. So let's click on material. Yeah, we should still have our material. So just select this. Now let's see this in the rendered view. Yeah, it works. We have our hole. Yep, we have a cylindrical hole now. And we could do whatever we want with this hole. Oh my god, that sounds weird. Let's select these three and just move them forward. I want it to be closer to the camera. Yeah, something like this. Let's move it even more so it's like closer and bigger. Yeah, so the video starts like this, yeah, and ends like this. So there are a lot of concepts we could do here. As we have talked about before, we could do basically anything. We have a hole. If the main subject of this video wasn't this floor, if the main thing the camera was focusing on was a building, we could have put this hole on the building and bring things out of the building. But here, let's do something similar to what I did in the sample VFX video. But I was thinking, instead of doing a chess piece, because that was just a random idea, putting a chess piece on the road and then something flipping out, instead of doing that, we could add like a key and a keyhole. So the key rotates and opens the keyhole, and then the entire thing comes up. So I was just thinking, what would this be as an idea? You are securing a very valuable bag in like a cage and then you turn the key and it opens up and you see the bag. That's the entire concept of the video we're trying to create. So let's download all the assets we need. Go to cgtrader.com and let's search for key key lock, just so we don't get just keys. Yeah, something like this. But let's find something something free for the tutorial. If there's something here that you really like, then you could just buy it. But I think I like this. This really works. Is there anyone that looks better? Yeah, this is going to save us a lot of time. Imagine having to model this thing. Imagine having to model every single thing you use in your video. Yeah, a lot of people do that, and I really applaud them. It's just a lot of time that I'm spending not creating something else. Okay, we can see that this doesn't have a blend file here. It's just FBX and TGA. So let's get the FBX file. And then in our blend file, let's go to solid view, file, import FBX. Then go find the file, double click it. Now we should have it right here. Yeah, but it's super tiny. So let's make it the size of the hole. Something larger like this. Yeah, let's line it up with the hole. Nice, let's click on just the key itself and bring it up so it fits perfectly. Yeah, this is good, this is good. So something we can do with the cover, let's bring everything up. Key 1, 2, 3. Let's bring it up. Now let's make our cover visible. Something we can do with the cover, let's go into edit mode, select all. You can hit E to extrude. Extrusion really just drags out the mesh. It basically just drags it out. So if you have a line and you extrude, it drags it out, so it's no longer a line, it's more like a plane. So if I have a plane and I extrude one edge, it becomes a wall. It drags it out. So for this circle, since I hit extrude, if I just drag it up, you can see we're now making it back into a cylinder. So let's just bring it up somewhere here. Then I to insert. This is what that does. Then insert it somewhere here. E to extrude, bring it up. We're trying to create like a platform. Then I to insert again. And E to extrude. Yeah, this is like our platform. Cool. Then let's put this key thing here. Yeah, let's just secure it onto the platform. I think this will look better with a subdivision surface modifier. It's looking very low poly right now. So go to modifiers, subdivision surface. So let's increase the levels to see what we're working with. I think 3 is nice. Yeah, let's put the render to 4 and put the viewport to 2. So this is what it will look like for us. Yeah, I think this is cool. Let's bring it down a bit. Yeah, then bring the keyhole down here too. Try to make it flush. Yeah, so we have this. And everything's already tracked to the scene. So let's bring this one down so it fits. Yeah, so we have a giant key in our scene already. Now we just need to create the animation. So we could just leave it like this. This could be the lesson, you know, putting a hole in the ground and then adding your object. But then let's try to create an actual scene. So from the beginning of the video, the first thing I want to happen is for this key to rotate and for this guy to also rotate. So N on your keyboard, let's add a Z rotation here, insert single keyframe. Then let's say 30 frames, at frame 30. Let's rotate this to the left 90 degrees, so minus 90. Right click and set single keyframe. Now let's see what that looks like. Yeah, cool. We can see it's not affecting this guy here. So let's just click on this, then shift click on this and Ctrl L, link animation data. Now we should follow it. Yeah, good. So after that happens, we want to lift everything up. So let's add an empty plane axis. Right click, adjust empty display size and just move your mouse. Cool, so let's bring it in the middle here. Let's bring it above. Now you want to parent everything to the empty. So click on this, this, and this, even the whole, yeah. Then click on the empty last, and Ctrl P, object. Now when we move this, it moves basically everything. So what we are trying to do is to use this to lift everything up. Yeah. After rotating the key at frame 30, after it has rotated, let's add a keyframe to the empty. So Z location, insert single keyframe. How long would it take to come out? Sliding up. Yeah. Then at 100, let's bring this up. Don't worry about this. Just let's bring it this high. Yeah. Right click, insert single keyframe. Yo, this could be the video. I just realized. This could be the entire video. Interesting. Let's go into this view. Let's see what this looks like in the render view. Slightly open. Oh, this could be the entire video. If we duplicate this hole, I'm just going on a rant here at this point. If we shift D on this hole, and then for one of them, oh, I've not renamed this. Let's call this hole, and let's call this cage. Yeah. You would soon know why I called it cage. So for the hole, if you can hit Alt P and keep transformation, so the hole that is smaller in here wouldn't move when we raise it up. Let's just see what it looks like. So we have two holes. One is being dragged up and one is still underneath. So it looks like we literally just cut this piece of soil out of the ground. That could be a really cool idea. Yeah, it seems like we use the key to just screw out a piece of soil. Yeah, that could work, but then that's not what we're trying to do here. So for this one, let's come to material and delete this material. Let's add a new material and let's make this one black for now and reduce the roughness so we can see what we are working with. Cool. So at this point, let's go to solid view and just do some, very light modeling. Come into edit view, click on the bottom face and drag it down, GZ, something here. What we can also do is to click on this platform, yeah, and shift D to duplicate it, then bring it down to just fit this hole. Yeah, exactly how a platform will look like from underneath. Then click on this, then come into edit mode, make sure the bottom face is selected, this one here. Then drag it down, bring it down here till we are basically intersecting here. Yeah, so we don't need this particular one anymore. We could do an S shift Z to just scale it to be very tiny. This would be like our bars for our cell, our cage. That's why I call it cage. So I think this size of the bar is alright. So we could do an S shift Z to make it slightly bigger. Then let's bring it out here to the edge. You just want this entire thing to be surrounded by these bars. I think somewhere here is fine. What I can also do is to hit shift D and then scale this one on the Z axis to be something around this size. Make it smaller. S shift Z to make it wider. So this is like a connecting point here. This is something I didn't do in my own video. So let's bring it up so it's inside. Let's bring the second one down, shift D, bring it down. Somewhere here. Let's go into edit modes, go into edge select, Alt click, so you can select all the edges at the top, and F to create a face, basically join it together. So we have one bar. I think we have this one bar completed and looking good. Let's make sure this one is also good. Cool. So what we can do is to just join them. So let's not stress ourselves. Let's just click this, this, and this, and Control J to join, so it becomes one object. So when you go into edit mode, you can see everything. So let's just quickly duplicate this around. Make sure you hit Control S often to save. It's just good practice. Let's go into wireframe view. Yeah, so it's around here. So let's do a shift D, X, and bring it to this side, around here. And then shift D and bring another one here. And shift D and bring another one here. Now you can add in as many as you want. You could add in on every single line here. But what I just did really quickly was to add in here. Let's say we'll add one here. Let's say we add one here and another one here. Then do the same thing on this side. One here, another one here. So yeah, now we should have our bars. Cool. Now let's make sure everything works. You can see this connecting lines shows us that everything is connected to this empty. So when I move the empty, everything should move. Good. Now let's see what the animation looks like from the beginning again. Turn on the key and it pulls this out. Dope. Oh, now we have an issue here. We can see all of this. We do not want to see this. How can we solve this problem? Let's click on this one. Come to the bottom face. Select all the faces at the bottom. So you could use B for box select. Then just draw a box here. So you select everything here. Then GZ to bring it inside, so it's not showing on the outside. And let's do the same thing here. B for box select to select just this, and GZ to bring it up here. Oh, this one is not all the way up. Yeah, so we don't see them. I think we're good. Yeah, so we could do whatever we want here. Let's see when it comes up. Let's say we have about, yeah, let's make the end frame 180. We don't need to use the entire clip. So turns the key, it opens up, then you see whatever you want inside. So you guys could put whatever you want into the scene. What I did in the example scene, I used a bag. You could use whatever you want, whatever you think would be precious that you'd have to have a giant key on the streets to open, just put it there. Yeah, so let's do some quick material work. Let's come to CG bookcase again, and then this time let's download something metallic. So come to categories, metal. You could download any metal you want here, but I preferred bronze. I wanted to use gold, but gold doesn't just make any sense in that scene, except what is inside is gold. For example, if what you're putting inside the cage is like some ancient artifact, some ancient gold artifact, it makes sense for the rest of the scene and the cage and everything to be gold. But here, let's use bronze. Let's use this bronze 2. Let's use 2K download. Now here in the shading tab, let's select this. We have this material. Click here. Oh, make sure you have extracted the bronze textures. Then here we can hit Ctrl+Shift+T while having principal BSDF selected. And we should be able to navigate here, bronze, select everything and import it. So now everything is looking bronze. Let's see how it looks like in the material view, so it doesn't waste our time trying to render. I think this is cool. Let's select all of this, all of the cylinders. Apart from this, we don't want to select the empty, just all these cylinders. Then Ctrl+A and apply the scale. Yeah, that actually made a difference. Now let's add the same material. We could rename the material from material 2 to bronze, and add the same material to this platform here. So select bronze. Okay, let's Ctrl+A and apply the scale of this one. Go into edit mode, select all, U, and Smart UV project on wrap. Okay, now we have our texture here. You could adjust the scale as usual. Each of these bumps to be a lot smaller, so we could adjust the scale. Click, drag down, up, so it's a lot smaller. Yeah, I don't like how this bronze here is stretched, but we can adjust that. If we select all of the cylinder very quickly, make sure one is selected, go into edit mode, select all, and U, Smart UV project, unwrap. Yeah, we should get it more accurate. Yeah, it's better than how it was before. Let's do the same thing for this guy on top here. Let's apply the scale. Let's change the material to the bronze. Let's go in, select all, U, Smart UV project. And now, yeah, we have an entire bronze looking stuff. Let's do the same thing for this one here. This key material, let's change it to bronze. Let's change this inner one also to bronze. Man, it's looking so bronze. So let's change this one, the material of the top. They should have different materials. Let's change this to bronze first of all and see what it looks like. Okay, we don't want everything to be bronze, obviously. We want to make sure this one's down here are not bronze. So depending on how this was modeled, we should be able to hover our cursor here and hit L on the keyboard to select just this. Yeah, so we can come here. Now materials, hit the plus sign to add a new material, then hit assign to have just that material for the key, and come to new, and then let's call this material chrome. You could also download a silver material here to just add an extra detail, but what I'm going to do is to just bring the roughness down and bring the metallic up a lot, so it already looks like a silver material. Yeah, I think the bronze material looks really cool. Yeah, let's go to our layouts and see what that looks like. Cool. So you could put whatever you want inside of this. You could put a bag, you could put an artifact, just make it cool. You could use a different material aside from the bronze and just own it. Make the entire concept your own and create something really cool. And I would really love to see this in the Discord community, in the Discord group. I want everyone that has attempted this to try out different concepts, try out different ideas and share it with the community. And I'll see you in the next one.